Okay, here is my audience. All right. Okay, so my name is Mark Hale, and today I will be talking to you about the disease malaria. Now, many people know about malaria as a mosquito borne disease that you get when you're bitten by the mosquito, but many people don't understand why it's such a big deal and why we should learn more about the disease. Malaria actually infects millions of people per year and kills hundreds of thousands. And the increase in education about malaria, including how the disease is contracted, what the symptoms are, and what to look for, as well as who's more likely to get the disease and where in the world you're most likely to contract it, and also what treatment options are available to those who do contract the disease, will help benefit people and prevent more people from dying every year and help stop the spread of malaria. To learn more about malaria, we should first talk about what types of symptoms there are from the disease as well as how it is contracted by people. According to the CDC, malaria is a sometimes fatal mosquito borne disease that is caused by a parasite. This parasite first infects the humans by the liver, and then it infects the red blood cells. When they infect the red blood cells, they multiply and destroy them, and then further spread to other red blood cells. Um, the mosquitoes take part in this, being a second host, as they come and feed on the humans that have the malaria um, uh, parasite in them. And after the mosquito feeds on the humans, it's about 7 to 18 days before the malaria virus actually shows up inside the mosquitoes and infects their salivatory glands. After the mosquitoes infected, they go and they feed on more people, and that's how the disease is actually spread. After a human's infected by the parasite, it takes about 7 to 30 days before symptoms of the disease actually show up in people. And so, depending on what strain of malaria it actually is, the incubation period could be short or it could take a very long time. Um, there are two main types of malaria that occur in affected people: uncomplicated and severe malaria. Obviously, one sounds a lot worse than the other. In uncomplicated malaria, typically patients have symptoms that include a combination of fever, chills, nausea, headaches, body aches, things like that. So, common symptoms that can that are usually attributed to things like the flu. In cases where malaria is serious and severe, usually that is due to complications um, when the parasite actually infects the body, where there are several organ failures or the person's blood or metabolism drastically change after the parasite infects them. Knowing the symptoms of malaria, it's important to know where you're more likely to actually contract the disease and who's most likely to actually contract them. According to the World Health Organization's 2013 World Malaria Report, there are approximately 3.4 billion people in the world that are at risk of contracting malaria. Of these 3.4 billion people, approximately 1.2 billion people live in high-risk areas for contracting malaria. High-risk areas for contracting malaria are areas where it is more likely to have more than one person affected per 1,000 people. In 2012, there were approximately 207 million cases of malaria reported, and approximately 627,000 people died because of it. 90% of the total fatalities due to malaria occur in sub-Saharan Africa. And also in that year of 2012, 482,000 children under the age of 5 died because of the disease. That's approximately 1,300 children per day and about a child per minute. However, in the United States, malaria is largely not an issue, and according to the CDC, the disease actually has been eradicated from the United States since the 1950s. However, sometimes living in Tennessee, we do see on the news about potential malaria outbreaks and things like that because of the mosquito populations. Um, this is usually resulting in about 1,500 to 2,000 cases of malaria in the United States per year, and mostly this is due to travelers going to other countries and then coming back already infected, and then the local mosquito populations actually spread the infection from the people who actually traveled around. Um, the largest outbreak of malaria in the United States in 40 years occurred in 2011 with 1,925 confirmed cases of malaria. And so, talking about where you're most likely to get it and also the symptoms, we'll talk about treatment options. Um, Malaria treatment's really crucial to preventing um, the high number of deaths associated with it, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. Many factors go into treatment, such as what kind of strain of the disease it is, the severity of the disease, and also the origin of the mosquitoes and the parasites where the person contracted the disease. Um, this is because some of the strains of the disease are actually resistant to certain treatments, and also the mosquitoes that carry the disease. Some of them are resistant to certain insecticides used to kill them off to help prevent the spread of the disease. Some researchers, in order to try and prevent the large number of deaths in Africa, uh, issued out tests where they gave patients in-home tests to see if they contracted malaria, and if they did, they had people in the community actually issue out treatment options for them, and that was largely a success, and it shows promise. Um, in the United States, there's several drugs available for people who contract the disease, and it's largely issued out on the same factors as said before, as well as the age of the person, the weight of the person, and whether or not they're pregnant. Um, Although malaria has been wiped out from the United States, it can still be reintroduced if the if foreign mosquitoes with malaria were actually to be brought over, the disease could be reintroduced. So that's always an issue. In conclusion, malaria is a serious disease, and people should know more about it, including how the disease affects the body, how they contract it, and what the symptoms are, um, the cures for the disease, as well as where you're most likely to get it. Thank you for listening to my speech, and I hope you learned something about it today. And this is the audience.